What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie2988 coming at you live once again through the power of the internet. And every year, people ask me to do a top 10 list of my favorite video games of the year, so I figured I would do it this year for 2014. Now, I want you to keep in mind that these are only games that I played quite a lot of. There are some fantastic games this year that I didn't get to spend that much time playing because my attention was elsewhere or I was just busy during the period of time that they came out. Those games did not make the list, but they will get honorable mentions towards the end. Starting off the list is the Xbox exclusive Sunset Overdrive. Now, this game tried really hard. In fact, it tried too hard to be kind of edgy and in tune with the use and mentioning things like the dog meme and Reddit and things along that lines. But that was forgivable because the gameplay was really, really fun. I had a lot of trouble with it at first, trying to bounce around and shoot stuff, but once I got the hang of it, it became very compelling, and the multiplayer is what pushed it over to the edge for me. Once I'd completed the story, and it's one of the few games that I actually completed in the last year, I felt compelled to continue to play it, going back to multiplayer once every couple of weeks, just because it's so much fun. Now, at number 9, I have put Warlords of Draenor, which is an expansion for an existing video game, so it's kind of weird. But this is the expansion that actually brought me back to World of Warcraft. Now, if you're a hardcore World of Warcraft fan, you're probably thinking it's a little too casual, and it's definitely casual. The game is much more casual than it's ever been. It makes EverQuest look like Dark Souls, which it kind of actually was. But ultimately, the garrisons, it makes it really fun for a player like me who wants to come in and dabble again. I've been streaming it, and I've been playing with some of my favorite people that I've met with World of Warcraft. And the fact that this expansion brought me back to Warcraft kind of feels like home. So I would have been doing myself a disservice if I didn't put this on the list. Now, coming in at number 8 is the PlayStation 4 exclusive Infamous Second Son. And while I found the gameplay to be fairly repetitious after 15 or 20 hours, and the story being just a little too short, overall the game was absolutely breathtaking. And this is remarkable in part because it was on a console. If this is what they can do with the PlayStation 4, then games are going to continue to look beautiful for this generation. The design of the city was fantastic, and I found myself exploring the city almost as much as I was using the powers. Of course, like using neon powers at night was so breathtaking. It's all I wanted to do when it was nighttime in the game. But this was definitely one of the most memorable games of 2014 just because of its stunning visuals. Coming in at number 7 is Wolfenstein: The New Order. Now, I have been a big fan of the Wolfenstein series, all the way going back to Wolfenstein 3D, and I thought this was a wonderful reboot of the franchise. I enjoyed the main character, I enjoyed the story, I enjoyed the visuals, I enjoyed the gameplay, I enjoyed everything about this game. Now, I feel like multiplayer really should have been included on this title, and had they included it, it would have been just one of the most ridiculously memorable games of the year. Because of it not having multiplayer, it's kind of in the bargain bin now, but it was a hell of an experience to get to play it again, a hell of an experience to get to see those disgustingly violent visuals, and hardcore mode was a nice addition, even though it was just way too difficult for me. I expect this one to be very controversial. Coming in at number 6 is Binding of Isaac Rebirth, and it's kind of a remake of a game, but it's kind of also a sequel, so I thought it was worthy of putting it on the list, but it has one of the biggest impacts on gaming this year. If you look at this game, some people get it and some people don't, but if you don't get it, that's fine. If you do get it, this game has a ridiculous amount of gameplay, whether it's the combination of items or the roguelike aspect where it's different every time you play it. This game has a ridiculous amount of value, especially at $15 or free if you're a PlayStation Plus member on the month this game came out. Overall, it's a game that I find myself being terrible at, but one that I am compelled to play over and over. And you can ask YouTubers like Northern Lion, who currently have 157 gameplay videos for it with no end in sight. You can play this game ad nauseum forever if it's your thing. Coming in at number 5 is one of my favorite computer games of all time, and that is Hearthstone: Heroes of Warcraft. Now, this is an online digital card game, and it is free to play. Kind of, because chances are when you play this game, you're definitely going to spend money on it, especially if you really like it. I don't mind the fact that I spent a ridiculous amount of money on it because the gameplay for me is absurdly compelling. It is one of the most watched games on Twitch. It's one of the most played games of 2014. And for a Magic the Gathering player like me, I instantly fell in love with this game. And the reason is because it takes the Magic the Gathering formula and simplifies it and just kind of makes it cool. And that's something they've been doing with a lot of video games lately. We see that now with Heroes of the Storm, taking the MOBA formula and turning it on its head. And they certainly did it with Magic the Gathering. And I'm so glad they did, because this is going to go down in the history books of one of my favorite games and most played games of my lifetime. At number 4 is Mario Kart 8, and I know a lot of people are immediately rolling their eyes thinking it's just another Mario Kart, but this brought it into 1080p, 60 frames per second. It makes the Wii U really sing. The DLC has added alternative universes such as Animal Crossing, Legend of Zelda, and I think that is incredible, the fact that we can visit all of these worlds and race through them. And overall, the gameplay is a nice mix of all of the other different Mario Karts into making a very interesting, fun, and still casual version of the game. We have spent hours and hours and hours on this game. It's been the big party game. We played it online. I played it by myself. Me and my wife have raced together, and it's just been one of the best experiences of the year. At number 3 is South Park: The Stick of Truth. Now, Matt and Trey did an incredible job on this game. They did for video games what they did for Team America. And if you haven't played this game and you're a South Park fan, you've made a huge mistake, because this is very much just a playable version of a South Park episode. Now, the game is fairly short and the combat is fairly easily exploited, but the game itself is definitely worth a playthrough. I actually played through it twice, once personally and once on stream, and it's just one of my favorite games. But primarily because it's a comedy game, and we don't get a lot of comedy games, and certainly not a comedy game that's been done this well. If they could bring back Space Quest and make it half as good as this game, I would be so happy. Coming in at number 2 is Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. And what can I say about this game that hasn't already been said, because it has been the topic of conversation all year. Whether it's the absurdly violent gameplay and the decapitations and the magic, the awesome world to explore, all the things there is to do, or the YouTube controversy surrounding it, this game was hot in 2014. But not only that, it was good right up to the beginning, almost all the way to the end, because the end is pretty weak. I haven't played any of the DLC, and I haven't completed everything there was to do in the world, but I often found it just fun to go back in and explore the different settings and mini games to kill as many orcs as I could. The War Chief system, the Nemesis system, the combat, the art, even though the combat was a little derivative of Assassin's Creed, this is one of the hottest franchises to come out of 2014, and I'm glad it's a franchise, because I can't wait to play the next game, hopefully 2 years from now, because next year would probably be too soon, right? But 2 years from now, I'm all over it. And finally, number 1 and my pick for Game of the Year, Super Smash Bros. On either 3DS or Wii U. Doesn't really matter, because it is incredible on both systems. Now, here's a game that I've put over 100 hours into, about 40 or 50 hours on each system, and I see no end in sight. I've played it on the plane, I've played it while waiting, I've played it while waiting for videos to render. The only thing I haven't done is streamed it. We've had party versions, 8 players Smash, you name it. This game has an infinite amount of replayability if you like it. But beyond just the Smash mode itself, you have all of the different subsettings, the different ways to play the game, whether it's Smash Tour on the Wii U or Smash Run on the 3DS. You have the trophy collection. You have so much game, it makes you wonder if other developers are even trying, if they were able to crank this game out in under a year. Just wow. And that's it. That's my top 10 list. Now, there were some other games that I wanted to put on the list, but I genuinely did not play enough to be able to say that I loved them so much. Bayonetta 2 is right at the top of the list. Forza Horizon 2 was one that I wanted to put on the list. What else? Far Cry 4, which is a game which I've only touched the surface of, but I know is one of the best games of this year. What other games did I miss? What games would you like to have seen on the list? Put them in the description box below, and I can't wait to read it. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. I love you so much, and I'll speak with you soon.